Now, the kickoff has been a play that the NFL has been trying to make safer over the past 10 or 15 years. And they've made it safer by creating a situation where it happens less frequently.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't make the play itself any safer.
Right.
But when you create incentives to kick it into the end zone and force a touchback, and then you create an incentive to take a touchback, and most recently they've allowed teams on a one-year experiment only, but maybe it'll become permanent, to call for a fair catch between the goal line and the 25, and you get it 1st and 10 at the 25. Here's the commissioner from yesterday talking about the current state of a play that has basically disappeared from view, the kickoff return.
I think we'll continue to focus on special teams and trying to address the kickoff. We believe that the foot is an important part of the game, and kickoff returns are an exciting play. We see it at 20% this year. We'd like to see that higher, but we also want to make sure that the injury rate is addressed. And so we're going to have to innovate. We're going to have to be smart. We're going to have to do what we've done before, which is make the game more exciting and make it safer at the same time. We've proven we can do that, and we're going to do it.
And it's amazing when you look at the evolution. Over the last 20 years, it's more like a revolution. With 32 teams entering the league in 2002 and no efforts to make the kickoff safer, 93.1 kickoff return rate. After the Kevin Everett injury in 2007, if you remember that, the Bills player who suffered the neck injury during the kickoff return, ultimately recovered, didn't play football again, but ultimately recovered and regained the use of his arms and legs. 2009 is when they started this restriction, no wedges of 3 or more players. Down goes the kick return rate. Kickoff moves from the 30 to the 35. Used to be at the 40, they moved to the 35, moved to the 30, back to the 35. Kickoff return rate goes even lower to 53.6. They move the touchback from the 20 to 25. It goes lower. No two-man wedges. It goes lower. Not by much, but it goes lower. And now, Chris, where we are, 20.5% kickoff return rate. 1 out of every 5 gets returned because if the ball just lands on the ground in the end zone, it's a touchback at the 25. If you take a fair catch between the goal line and the 25, you get it at the 25. You know, we thought, well, maybe we'll still see some teams, we'll see the mortar kick. We heard a lot about that. They'll force them to return it, or they'll choose to return it. We haven't seen that. No one's been willing to risk that. And so the kickoff becomes irrelevant to the point where it's basically dead, to the point where why not just put the ball at the 25 and be done with it? You need something to simulate the onside kick, but why not just put the ball at the 25 and be done with it?
I just wish we could find a middle ground somewhere. I do, because it is and I know proper adjustments we're trying to make, like you talked about. We take the wedge away and the 3-person wedge, and then we made a 2-person wedge, and then not allowed to have anybody do that, and I think that was all good because, listen, I can tell you, and you've heard me tell stories about this before. The collisions back in my day, okay, old-timer Chris Simms here, on kickoffs and kickoff, I used to sit there and go, I don't know how they do it, these guys, right? I mean, in one game, and I've told you this, I think I told you this recently, and when I was with the Tennessee Titans and we were playing the Indianapolis Colts on a Thursday night game, Darrell Reed, which was one of the greatest wedge busters in the history of football, he knocked out 2 guys on our Tennessee Titans team in the same game. And I mean, one of them was like the guy was snoring right by the sidelines. Like he was out. He was snoring. He was asleep. So it had to be adjusted. But I wish we could find a middle ground because, damn, I mean, I don't know. I grew up with Dave Meggett and Deion Sanders returning kicks and going, this is one of the coolest plays in the sport, right? Mel Gray, Desmond Howard in the Super Bowl. What's the receiver's name? Jacoby Jones of the Ravens in the Super Bowl, right? I mean, all those great, exciting plays that I grew up with and we all remember, it's out of the game right now.
Mike Tomlin tripping Jacoby Jones on Thanksgiving night. You don't have that either.
Right. So that's where, it's an exciting play, and it's a speed play where the fastest guys in football get to show what they got, and it excites the fans. I was at the Super Bowl. Colts versus Bears, and Tony Dungy said, screw that, we're going to kick it to Devin Hester. Who the hell does he think he is? And then he ran up the field for a 100-yard touchdown, and then he can kick it to him again. I mean, that was amazing to see. I wish we could still keep the play alive somehow, some way, and I hope that's something the competition committee and everybody can finagle with and still find a way here, because like you said, it's gone right now. It does barely exist.
And just so folks understand the risk, the heightened risk of serious injury, what happens is you have two individuals running at each other at top speed or close to it. So you've got maximum forces meeting. And what happens is instinctively before impact, you'll see the kind of bracing dipping of the helmet. So when those helmets smash together, you get maximum force in a vulnerable area of the cervical spine, C4, C5 area. That breaks, damages the spinal cord. You have a Kevin Everett situation, or Eric LeGrand, if you remember him, the Rutgers player who had the catastrophic neck injury on a kickoff return. And that actually sparked Greg Schiano, who was coach of Rutgers at the time, when he got to the NFL, to put the idea of the 4th and 15 alternative to the onside kick in the commissioner's head. That's been an issue for years now. That's a way to get rid of the kickoff and still have an opportunity for the team that's trailing to come back and win the game. So they've been thinking about this for a long time. Now, Chris, here's where I think it's going. We reported this last year. The XFL kickoff.
Yeah.
I don't know that the combined XFL and USFL is going to use this, but they should. And it's like an old electric football play, because all the players are standing still. They're out there and they're arranged. And it's neat to see it. You've got 10 of the return team players and 10 of the kicking team players 5 yards apart, frozen in whatever pose your favorite electric football player is. They're frozen. The ball's kicked, and they're still frozen until the return man, the one guy back there behind them, catches it. Well done, control room. They're all standing there waiting, and as soon as he catches it, it's turned the button on, and there goes the electric football game. But what that does, it gets rid of the high-speed collisions, because guys are only 5 yards apart when they start running at each other. That's what I think we're going to have. And it creates an opportunity for Jacoby Jones to bust through, and off he goes. And he's loose. So don't hip drop tackle him when you catch up to him. That was oops. But that's I thought he was gone. He wasn't loose. He was caught and almost hip drop tackled. But that's what I think they need to do. And they say they're putting it on the coaches. They're putting it on the coaches. I think they're going to reject any idea the coaches have until the coaches have the idea on their own to just bring the XFL. I think that's what they're trying to get them to do. To get the coaches to say, let's just use the XFL kickoff. And once they say, sold, that's what we're going to do.
I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I could. That's a good common ground for me. I think there's, you could sell that still as that's a legit play. It keeps some of the exciting names that we've talked about in history still involved in the game, right? It is one of the more exciting plays to begin with, and I think it's safe. And I think there's going to be real tactical, right, coaching by these special team coaches there of like creative design and how you block those 10 guys on 10 guys and do all that. So I can get behind that if the NFL wants to adopt that one for sure.
One last thing. We don't have time to debate it now. We'll have plenty of time in the offseason, especially as late March approaches. But they are going to look at our mutual favorite play for very different reasons, the North Korea play. They're going to look at the fumble out of the end zone that currently gives the defense possession at the 20. Even if the ball had trickled out just before the pylon, the offense still keeps it at the spot of the fumble. If it touches that pylon, it's North Korea, it's the DMZ, and the defense gets the ball at the 20. They're going to look at it. I don't know if they're going to change it because they've looked at it in the past, and they've never changed it. But they are at least going to look at it.
I wonder what they'll do by looking at it. I am a staunch defender of that rule. Call me Sims Jong-un. I don't care what you want to call me, okay? But yes, I do believe that, yes, that the end zone is the only part of ownership on the team. And I thank you you did a good job in the article you wrote yesterday explaining my side of the story there. And I know we'll get into it. But yeah, I want to see what the remedy is before I attack it. I don't want, offense fumbled the ball out of the end zone. Oh, poor offense, we're going to favor you more and just give you the ball back. That's where I just go, that's a bunch of BS and you don't get the ball back. That shouldn't be, right? And yeah, I'm a believer in that end zone. That's the other team's territory. It's the only defined ownership of the field on the football field. And that's why, if you let the other team in there with the ball, they get 7 points for breaking into your house and doing that. They just stole 7 points from you. And that's why I like it. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, it'll be interesting, and it'll be a good offseason argument between you and me.
You and I have previously reached a loose consensus that we could accept, reluctantly, the idea that the defense gets the ball at the spot of the fumble, not at the 20.
Yes.
That would be a middle ground.
I feel good about that.
To placate both sides of the argument.
Right. Yes. That to me would make sense. And I can get behind that instead of getting the touchback rule, basically, right, where they get the ball out of the 20. Hey, they fumbled here, ball rolled in the end zone, out of bounds. Defense, you get the ball at the spot of the fumble. I can understand that, and I can get behind that.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.